Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Mary. I'm the supervising psychologist of Life Care Centers. And today I want to talk about something that you might not be aware of, but could be blocking your ability to experience gratitude and joy in your life. And that's stress and excess, the constant go, go, go of too much, too much. So a few years ago, I actually went through a time of burnout myself, and that's because my life was just filled to capacity, over capacity actually, with just way too much. Work and family and ministry, just constant go, go, go. I didn't have time to even stop and pause. I didn't even notice that that was happening to me, and in fact, that's often what happens to people. Okay, I was a little bit more irritable than usual. Okay, I didn't have as much time when my kids would come to me with their concerns. And to be honest, sometimes for clients, I might not have been as compassionate as I could have been. And it was only when I got to the place of burnout where I just couldn't do any more that I realized, what's going on in my life? Why am I always irritable? Why do I not feel happy? And I realized that a very large cause was because I just had way too much in my life. And that is probably one of the most common things that people come into my office with. Stress up the wazoo. It's not just with adults. I see that with teenagers. I see that with kids. Even as young as 6 years old, they come in and they're stressed out because the expectations are too high. They have too much going on in their life. So when you're living a lifestyle where it's a constant drumbeat of go, 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 and you don't have time to even rest or pause or to think or to appreciate life, you lose the ability to savor life, to actually appreciate the small moments in life, and to actually focus on the things that are true priorities for you. And for me, it's definitely my relationships, yet that was what suffered the most. My family got short shrift, and my friends, they just barely got to see me. And so that was when I started to realize that it's time to make some changes in my life. And that's what I help clients with as well. When they come in and they're telling me they're just struggling with some anxiety symptoms, depression symptoms, they're not sleeping well, their mind's racing, they can't seem to settle down, I begin to ask questions about their lifestyle, what's going on, and often that's the same story I get. Way too much going on in their life. Long work hours, demands that far outstrip the time that they have. And then meanwhile, they have their kids in about 5 different sports activities, and they're running from this elders meeting to that, and it's just nonstop. And our bodies were not meant to live that way. And so that's, first of all, identifying what's the root issue, is that you've got too much. And then it's really being tough and beginning to cut out the things in your life that are not going to be priorities for you. And that takes time. I mean, I had to, for myself personally, really spend some time, okay, God, what is it that you're calling me to? What is it that's important to me? What are my values in life? And I had to come up with sort of 4 or 5 key values. And for me, God was right up there, my relationship with Him, but also my relationships with my family and friends. And work was important, but it wasn't as important as the relationships, yet it was backwards in my scheduling of things. So with that in mind, having the priorities in mind, I began to, and this is what I help clients do as well, in a very practical way, looking at your priorities, what is in your life. So I get them to write out every possible thing that they have in their life and begin to kind of rate this in terms of the values you just told me are important. And then with a very strong, harsh, almost red pen, begin to mark out the things that you're going to start to drop. Now, when you're in a time of stress and burnout, you actually have to take away more than you'd like to initially. And then as you rest and restore, you can begin to build in some more things that you're really passionate about. But today, I filter a lot of what I choose to say yes to. Is this one of my values? And if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? Is this something that God is calling me to do? So I'm slower to say yes, much faster to say, let me think about it, let me pray about it. And then when I do that, what I've discovered is the art of being able to savor life. I've given myself permission to just pull away, and I love sitting by the lake, listening to the sound of the water, listening to the sound of the birds, and all I'm doing is just sitting there and savoring. I teach people the art of doing nothing, to just putter around. And that is very foreign to most people. they don't even know how to sit still. In fact, they're kind of agitated when they sit still. So I kind of have to retrain them to the way we're designed to be, which is work hard, but rest well, and play hard too, and do the things that restore yourself. And so that's kind of a lot of what I help people do. And when they do that, and they're actually taking the time to savor the little gifts in life, and they're noticing things, they're in a much better place to be filled with gratitude for what the good gifts that God has given them. They're much more able to savor the relationships that God has given them, because that is a priority for God. And most importantly, to be able to savor their relationship with God. I have never ever found my life to be successful if I spend a lot of time away from Him. And the opposite, when I spend lots and lots of time with Him. And it's not like I'm doing anything, major. Sometimes I'm just sitting with Him and listening to a worship song, or I'm just singing songs of praise, or I'm feeling gratitude towards Him. And just by recentering myself in Him, it gives me the strength and the focus to kind of go back in and do the things that He's calling me to do. And I'm filled with so much more joy and gratitude as a result. So the really interesting thing about stress, and I certainly find that to be the case in my life, is I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to set boundaries and manage my time better, but I keep going back to that rat race. What is it that causes us to do that? And what I've discovered is, if I spend the time to understand what my underlying motivations are, that really helps. And for myself personally, people pleasing is huge, and wanting the approval of others and hating to disappoint others. I'm very relational, so it bothers me when people are upset with me. So what might it be for you? It might be the same thing as people pleasing. Often people will say things to me like, I can't do this, I can't stop working, I have no choice, my boss makes me do that. And it's often because they're afraid that maybe their boss will see them as a failure. And for many men, the fear of failure is quite significant. So at what point do you say that you've met the mark? There's always a higher mark that you have to continue to achieve. So then it's ongoing, go, go, go. I can never prove myself, because your sense of worth, your sense of value is rooted in your accomplishments, achievements, or what others think about you. So when you realize that whatever it might be, what's driving you to kind of go back into that, then it helps you to kind of go, okay, well, if I'm going to root myself instead in how God sees me and has valued me. And sometimes I'll give people this challenge. If you were to be a quadriplegic, not able to speak, you're completely not able to communicate with the world, how do you think your value in God's eyes change? And they're like, oh, never thought of it that way. And that's how unmovable your value is in God's eyes. It's not based on what you do or accomplish. And so if you can root in that, then it'll help you to be able to let go all the other things that you kind of desperately chase to keep your self-esteem and your self-worth going. So a question to ask yourself is, and this is often where I see it begin to happen, how is your relationship with God? And I don't mean this at all. Please don't take this as judgmental, and don't be all self-critical, but it's just a time to reflect. If you're finding that He's not necessarily a priority in your life, you're not hearing from Him on an ongoing basis, you're not feeling a sense of closeness to Him, all the things that you're wired to be and to do in relationship with God, then something's off. And so take the time to use that as a springboard to think about what's in your life that's preventing you from that rich, wonderful, intimate, beautiful relationship with God.